Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. We're the Movie Couple. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And this is our non-spoiler review for Disney's Wish. Wish is an all-new musical comedy welcoming audiences to the magical kingdom of Rosas, where Asha, a sharp-witted idealist, make a wish so powerful that it is answered by a cosmic force, a little ball of boundless energy called Star. Together, Asha and Star confront a most formidable foe, the ruler of Rosas, King Magnifico, to save her community and prove that when the will of one courageous human connects with the magic of the stars, wondrous things can happen. So Disney's Wish. I know it hasn't been forever, but in a way it does feel like it's been forever since we've gotten like a Disney musical. Even though
I think the last one was Encanto, and that was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years
ago?
So,
I mean, the last Disney movie, the last Disney animated movie was Strange World, I believe.
Yes.
And that wasn't a musical,
no.
So it does seem like it's been a while. And honestly, I feel like them celebrating the Disney 100 really amped up the excitement for this. They've announced it at D23. Their last musical was Encanto, and then before that, it was that Frozen 2?
Frozen 2 or Moana?
Frozen 2 and then Moana. And all of those have been amazing movies.
This, like you mentioned, this is a part of the Disney 100 celebration. And, you know, we've seen the trailer, we've reacted to it. The first time we ever saw any footage from Wish was at D23.
Yep.
And the one thing that really caught my eye was the animation. I was like, there's something very different about this animation. There's like a blend of watercolor. There is this like old artistry of hand-drawn and the new tech of 3D blended together. And like my eyes, I knew I liked it, but I was like, it's so different because we hadn't really seen anything like that before.
It really did seem like you were watching a painting come to life because it did have that beautiful background. And every now and again, I did find myself watching the movie and not focusing on what was going on, but going, oh, the background's so pretty.
Oh my gosh, I did the same thing. So with the background of the movie Wish, just to give you a little bit more insight, so the animators and the directors really wanted to pay tribute to the classic Disney stories. So they pulled a lot of references from older Disney movies like Sleeping Beauty. So the forest stuff, a lot of it is inspired by Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, the looks of those films. For the streets and town of Rosas, especially the nighttime, they really looked at sort of the cobblestone structure from Pinocchio. They really wanted to like lean in on celebrating the art of Disney animation and classic tales. And I think they did a really good job with that. But this is, you know, it's funny that we're talking about like, oh, they're like, you know, kind of like inspired by the classics. But this tale is an original one. It's penned by Jennifer Lee, who also penned Frozen 1 and Frozen 2. And it's got a brand new kingdom that we've never heard of before in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea called Rosas. And what we really liked in the movie is that we're talking about, again, looping back to paying tribute to the old Disney stuff. It opened on a book. Just
I like that
open
too.
the page.
I was like, oh, that is so cool. It's just like what they did for Sleeping Beauty and Snow White and Pinocchio.
Yeah.
And I like that. And plus the way the cover of the book looked, and just I loved the artistry. Throughout this entire movie, you just get, I'm not going to say bombarded, but there is a lot of just Disney fan service, and it's not like all up in your face.
Right, it's subtle.
It's subtle, it's nice, it's cool to be like, oh, that reminds me of this. Oh, that reminds me, oh, there's the apple. You know, there were a lot of moments to where they just had things kind of there to make it feel like this really was for the Disney fans who have been loving Disney for the last 100 years.
And I think in a way it's for them too, because they themselves, the creators and the animators and directors, are also Disney fans. So I think, yeah, they're putting in Easter eggs for us, but I think it's also like for them. Like, hey, you want to add this one thing from this movie and just sneak it in the corner, maybe nobody will see it. And it's like, I'm sure we
because
missed so much.
all of the animators are huge fans of the Disney properties, so they want to kind of geek out and put these moments in there and put these little hidden Easter eggs. We probably didn't even catch all of them.
We'll have to
It
see
would
it
be
again.
kind of cool when it comes out on Disney Plus to kind of go through and be like, oh, there's that one, or have someone that kind of breaks all of them down.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get back into the story of it. This is, we follow Asha, who is voiced by Ariana DeBose, who does the speaking voice for Asha and the singing voice for Asha. I remember back in the days,
Which
they
is
sometimes
nice.
would have like two different actors, which I think is also cool. But nowadays, I think now they just have like one person who does both speaking and singing. So Asha is this very like eager, working hard girl who her goal is to become the king's apprentice.
Was it apprentice or assistant?
Apprentice.
Apprentice.
Who would
okay.
also double as assistant. Essentially, because it's kind of like what you do. Because like the last person he had, I think either he let go, it didn't work out, or whatever. And I mean, you were an apprentice to the king, so it's a pretty big task. Another thing about the king is that he uses magic. He is the only magic user in the kingdom of Rosas, and he has the power to collect wishes of the townspeople of Rosas, and also has the power to grant them. And what it sounds like, he's kind of created his own utopia. Nobody has to pay rent there. I don't know how they get the resources. Like, it feels kind of endless. Maybe that's a part of his magic. The movie didn't really show that, but
Yeah,
I
it
would
didn't
like
really
to
go
think.
into that.
Yeah, but they did convey the idea of like he created this like ideal destination spot, and he wants people to like travel to Rosas and see the kingdom, feel safe there. This is the place where wishes come true. So it's like half tourist attraction, half utopia, which is like kind of cool. So Asha is, she does a lot of things. She is a tour guide for the Kingdom of Rosas, and she is one of the apprentice hopefuls for the king. So that's kind of how the movie starts up, and it's very like the first half of the movie. It's very like we're setting all the pieces in order, and then the second act is we're gonna now go to the chessboard and move all these pieces, and that's where sort of like all the pieces begin to fall into place, which I think is cool because they set a very clear line of like we're establishing this. We're going to come back to it later.
And that's also where you start developing more of the characters of King Magnifico, and you get to see some of his songs. He actually has more than one.
Yeah.
Which is actually something I was really excited for because, one, it's Chris Pines. He was in Into the Woods. And and the character King Magnifico was actually the character that I was the most excited about because he just seemed like this really just big personality, very grand, very verbose, and I really do enjoy those kind of characters. And of course, he comes off as insanely narcissistic. You are the most handsome king these people have ever had. Yes, I am very handsome.
He said in the song too. He's like, it's genetics. I'm so like if you. So we'll talk about the songs in a second, but if you really like go back and because I think his song is available on Spotify now, if you go back and listen to the songs, it's hilarious. Like he is a narcissist and he fully admits it and he's not sorry about it, which makes me kind of love this villain a little bit more.
Yeah.
So knowing that he is, the only person who can use magic, he's the only person that can grant wishes. Something that Asha really wanted to do, aside from truly wanting to be the king's apprentice, is that she's got another goal, is that her grandfather's, this is like the day of her grandfather's 100th birthday. And it happens to be the same day as a wish-granting ceremony, which happens only so often. It's not like an everyday thing at Rosa's. And Asha was like, well, maybe, like I'm kind of in with the king and maybe I'll mention that it's your birthday and maybe out of his good grace, they will grant your wish. So they all kind of gather. But this is where we start to kind of peel back the layers on the Kingdom of Rosas and specifically King Magnifico.
Yeah, and honestly, it was at this point where I wish we would have been able to dive more into this, into some of these characters, especially King Magnifico. We kind of got like a generic idea of what happened and why he tried to create the kingdom that he has, his backstory. But I would have loved to have been able to have dived more into his character. I feel like they kind of just mentioned it and then moved on. This movie actually comes up to like 92 minutes full running time. So the movie itself, without the end credits, is less than an hour and a half. I feel like they could have spent another 15 minutes on just character development with King Magnifico to bring up some of his motivations. Why is he so arrogant? Why is he this way? And I feel like it would have been able to bring me more into, for I don't want to speak for Wendy, but I felt like it was just kind of a surface description of his character.
I can actually see that. I don't have the same experience as you do, but I think that's a really valid point where now you're talking about it, and I was like, yeah, we kind of understand the motivation. We understand a little bit of his past because they did touch on it, but they touched on it and moved on, and they sort of centered because there were other things that they needed to focus on. But I feel like, as he goes into his like villain era, I would have liked to see a little bit more of, rather than just the turn, the like a past Magnifico and what's caused him to have all this in his head, and why he is like a better explanation of why he's doing this.
Yeah, and something that I really liked about some of the past the more recent Disney musicals, is that there's not always a clear-cut villain. Like, for example, in Encanto, it was about family and about overcoming struggles in your family, and being what is it called? In Frozen, there wasn't a clear-cut villain. They were on an adventure to understand Elsa's powers. And what was the one before that? I mean, in between there, Encanto. Oh, Moana. Same thing. There wasn't really a bad guy. True, it was Tafiti, but she wasn't really a villain. Something had happened to her.
Right. It was taken away from her.
And I really, really enjoy that about this. And I feel like King Magnifico kind of touched the realm of just being I'm a bad guy. So I really would have loved to have actually seen a little bit more of a theory of, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. To see the fact that King Magnifico's trying to be a good person, he's starting to become a little bit more arrogant because he thinks, oh yeah, I know best. Everyone else is wrong. Yes, I am incredibly handsome as well. But I do also want to give a disclaimer when it comes to actually listening to the songs and some of the dialogue. One, I'm notoriously bad of actually being able to catch everything I hear, especially in musical numbers. So I lose a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the lyrics. Yep.
Lost in song lyrics.
Lost in song lyrics. And we also we saw this at the El Capitan, which has notoriously bad sound in it. And also during our screening, we had some really loud, disruptive people sitting behind us.
And I don't mean, when you go to a movie theater or a screening event or whatever it may be, it's inevitable. People tend to make comments, whisper here and there. There are going to be disruptions, right? But it's like here and there, it's not the whole time. With our experience, unfortunately, it was the whole time, and the volume was quite loud. And it was really disappointing because I really do feel like we were robbed of a really good theatrical experience.
So I wanted to give that disclaimer, is that also might be one of the reasons, all of those combined, why I'm not really I didn't really connect with this story and with King Magnifico as much as I wanted to. I feel like something there just wasn't quite letting me get a hold of this storyline and truly fall in love with it.
And I think for me, I had the bonus of, covering the long lead day for Wish. So I had seen the footage. I had a better understanding already of the movie before going in. And
a lot of the backstory, too, and a lot of the motivations behind what they did.
So I sort of already knew, but I obviously didn't tell him because I don't want to tell you what you're about to experience because we didn't think that we were going to have the experience that we did. So that was obviously outside of our control. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just what it was, but we thought it would be fair to kind of, parlay that to you guys. going back to the story, Asha learns that not all the wishes that the king has gathered are being granted. In fact, most of them aren't granted. That is not a spoiler. That is in the trailers. And so she has a very different idea of like, well, no, that doesn't sound okay. Well, if you're just gonna hold them here and protect them or whatever you call it, maybe just give it. Yeah, maybe just like give it. They're sitting here not doing anything. Just give it back. And then when they're ready to be like granted, just let them wish again, and then you can grant their wish. And the king, being a narcissist and being egotistical, doesn't like to be challenged. So he immediately was like, absolutely not, Asha. You know what? In fact, I don't like what you said at all, that I'm going to retaliate, and your grandfather's wish, I don't care if he's 100 years old, I am never granting it. Ah, ha, 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 ha. And that is kind of what I enjoyed about him being a villain. It was just so in your face. He was not even trying to hide. It was like trying to hide like the Two-Face thing, like, ah, yes, I'm your king. Ah. I don't know. I like the turn, and I don't feel like too often I get to like I can just picture Chris Pine in the recording booth
having
so much fun playing like a delicious villain. So I really like that. And so Asha, in her desperation, does what one Disney princess, well, she's not even really a princess.
Pretty much all Disney princesses.
That's what Disney, female lead character would do, is run into the woods, sit on a something. And sing out her heart's truest wish. And this song, you guys have already heard it. We've been hearing it since D23.
Yep.
And I really, really like the song. It's very grand about making the wish and what's inside your heart. And she sings it out. And her wish was so powerful and true that it manifested the magic that is wish in the form of a little star.
Who is incredibly adorable and cute, and is very mischievous, even though it has no dialogue whatsoever, it just has a ton of characters.
Somehow those are always the most memorable Disney characters. The ones that are like super cute, super marketable.
Wally.
Doesn't need a single line. If you look at Hey Hey, you know, if you look at Star, if you look at Splat from Strange World, even, like, it's all there. It's just like nonverbal and so cute.
But I have to admit, the one who does kind of steal the show every now and again is Alan Tudyk's character. Valentino, the little goat who wanted to be able to communicate with all of his humans around him. And he's adorable. Having Alan Tudyk's voice in there, I think, is great. And he definitely has some amazing moments in this movie.
Yeah. I think for the story and the movie, the first act was great. But second act is where it was at for me. Because once we realized that the king doesn't have the intent to grant all the wishes. In fact, it seems like he's holding them prison, but like for what? Because he keeps saying he's protecting them, and he's not, but he's literally doing nothing with them. So once Star entered the story and the situation, the king not only felt challenged, he felt threatened, because there is no other magic user on this utopia that he built. He built it that so he could be the only person who uses magic. So now he's mad and he feels threatened. He's like, well, who else is using magic? How dare they defy me? So there's a whole nother layer that we get to see with King Magnifico. He's got this really fantastic song called This Is the Thanks I Get that kind of enters him into his villain era that I was obsessed with the first time we heard it on the Long Lee Day, and I have been listening, and I just have so much fun with it. And that's where the story really picks up for me, because then it's kind of like Asha versus Magnifico, but she's not a magic user. But Star kind of is, but not really. So what do we do in this situation? There are a team of people she can rely on, and those are her friends, and I love them so much. They're not in the movie too much. They're good support screen time. But I think they're a very chaotic bunch. If you think an adventuring party, I was like, these people are everybody had their own little jobs or something that they're good at or characteristics that I thought was very classic Disney, almost kind of like the Seven Dwarves.
Yeah,
in a way,
a little bit.
A little ode to that, and I thought that was cool.
And each character did give you kind of, wait a second, I've kind of seen this character before, nods to certain previous side characters.
I feel like one of them for sure looked like Bruno.
One of them kind of gave me Bruno vibes. One of them kind of gave me, who is that guy in the monster suit in Big Hero 6 that ended up, whose grandfather was Stan Lee at the end credit scene?
If I find a picture of it, I'll put it right here.
Yeah, there was definitely a character that reminded me of him, and each one of them brought something special to the movie and to the liveliness of the group, and especially her, what is it called?
Her like best friend.
Her best friend.
The best, yeah. Her best friend. Like it makes it. Her best friend. It makes me want to have her best friend also. Like I need this kind of a best friend in my life.
And something that they did really well too is that they didn't really focus on just the main character. It really was us. It really was. Her wish was, I want something better for us. We. And it's the group of them working together.
Yeah, it's a very selfless thing that Asha was singing her feelings out for, and I think that's why her like call was answered.
Yeah, and it's also never there's never like her wish.
Yeah,
it doesn't focus on that. It focuses on everyone else's.
She's selfless versus the king who's very selfish. So yeah. So there's a lot of that like classic fairy tale tropes that are in there, but it doesn't feel like it because I feel like they got really creative with it. I want to address the songs really quick. There are obviously all brand new songs, all written. Yeah, a lot of them, and it kind of drops you into one right away. And it's perfectly entitled Welcome to Rosas. So you get like a gist of like what Rosas is about in a song and dance, and I really, really loved it. Parts of it reminded me of like Rapunzel Tangled when she first got into like the city. Mm-hmm. Like it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. It's very fun, very dancey.
The exposition musical and opening number.
Yeah. So they're all written by Julia Michaels and Benjamin Rice, and it's all very like upbeat, poppy. It's a lot of fun. It's a very different sound than past Disney stuff. So I really liked it. I think my top 3 songs are Asha's song, This Wish, King Magnifico's song, This Is the Thanks I Get, and then there's a group song later called Now That I Know What I Know, or something like that.
Yeah, and honestly, those are my 3 favorites as well. There are, but there are just a ton more songs, and each one of them just brings something fun and magical to the movie.
So with that said, we are going to go ahead and give you guys our rating on the movie. As always, the movie couple rating is listed for you in the video description below. I have been looking forward to this since we saw it in D23. The second they show Valentino, I was like, oh, cute character. Also probably going to be a lot of merchandising. I'm in. Like, I'm a sucker for merchandise. For not just
my
Disney.
Voice could be so low.
That got me. I was like, all right, Alan Tudyk, you win again. I am in. But also, listening to that song, because they played This Wish at D23, and I was like, ooh, I love this. I really like the story. I like that it's original, yet at the same time, it's paying homage to the classic Disney films. It has, cameos and it's got a ton of Easter eggs in there, but you're not inundated with them. You're not like, oh my God, there's so many, it's too much. I think it's a right amount, and they're pretty well, some are obvious, some are really well hidden. Like you have to kind of either happen to see it or look for it. And I really like that. I like the songs, but I think the highlight of the film for me are, Asha's great, but the highlight for me are Star and King Magnifico. And I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a check it out.
For me, I had a hard time actually being able to connect with a lot of the storyline plots and even the main villain, King Magnifico, and he was the one that I was really looking forward to. However, there are still a lot of really fun characters. There's still a lot of good laughs. There's still a lot of good musical numbers. And even though there were some times that I was having a hard time kind of not following the plot, but connecting with the plot, I still had fun watching this movie. I kind of want to go back and watch it again, just because, so I can be in a better setting, to maybe get a better feel for the movie, so I can maybe connect a little bit better this time around with some of the characters and with some of the storyline. So overall, I'm going to give this a matinee it.
And there you have it. Those are our thoughts on Disney's Wish. Let us know your thoughts on the movie once you've seen it by commenting below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you soon.